Welcome back to the Illuminated Path. This is episode 33. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about creativity. So it's going to be a little bit of a fun episode.
Yeah, this has been a long journey for me, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
How's the week? It's been 10 minutes.
Yes. So this is our last episode in our little podcast studio. I'm sad because it was like our first set that we made and built this, and we recorded, 31 out of 33 episodes in this spot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But when this episode comes out on April 12th, I'll be in Arizona.
Yeah.
Soaking up the warm weather. That is like beyond what I'm excited about. So I'm going for my sister's bachelorette, and I'm looking forward to some sunshine and heat.
Yeah. And I'm going to do another 3-day fast and try to time it perfectly so I don't have to cook while you're not here.
It's so funny because like you had talked about doing a 3-day fast every quarter.
Yep.
So it is a new quarter. And I kind of seriously, but also kind of joking, was like, maybe you should just do it while I'm gone.
Yeah.
And then you were like, wait a minute.
I was like, that's a great idea.
Right. Like you don't have to worry about cooking for yourself. And
Yeah.
I don't have to be here while you're a little bit moody, maybe.
Whoa.
You got a little bit frustrated last time and you were hangry. But
Yeah.
so yeah, now you can just like have the most chill and relaxing time as you can and
Yeah.
do your fast.
Yeah. So let's get into creativity. I think that I think I want to start by saying like it's not something that you are or aren't good at. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people have a tendency to say, "Oh, I'm not a creative person."
Mm-hmm.
That's not really like so I guess the perspective I can offer, right, is someone who I went to school, went to school for business. I, started my own businesses. I was working in marketing and corporate offices. Like my background is very business oriented with a very little room for creativity. When there was creativity, it was like, relative to marketing. So there's still like a very finite box. Um, and having worked to, you know, build my music career and learn how to make music and also just study how an artist thinks. Um, the big thing is like it's a part of being human.
Yeah.
It's not it's still a skill, yes, but creativity in itself is a part of life. It's a part of the human experience. And it's something that all of us have within us. We just have varying degrees of our understanding and our connection to it.
Yeah, we all have creative parts in us and we all express it in different ways and have different desires on how to express it.
Yeah. I think a lot of books on creativity, they talk about creativity as kind of reconnecting with your inner child and that sort of childlike playfulness,
Mm.
you know? Um, in Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being, I believe is what it's called. That book, he talks about creativity as an antenna that you get better at tuning into.
Mm.
It's not something that you either can or can't do. It's something that everyone has the ability to practice.
Yeah. And like you just said, like connecting to that inner child, I mean, think about any child, any young child, like has such an imagination.
Yeah.
It's why children would rather play in a box than with the actual toy.
Right. Right.
Because they're so imaginative and creative. And I think it's because they are a child and they don't have, the traditional stressors of the world. So they're much more easily able to tune into that.
Yeah.
But as we grow older and we get into school and stuff, it's not really encouraged as much to explore that side.
Yeah.
Sure, there's like some activities like art and music class in elementary school, but that starts to kind of fade away.
Yeah. And, I think we talk about that later on, but, because there is more than just painting for creativity.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think when you look at what happens, right, as kids, we naturally explore. We have an idea, our imagination, presents something to us, and we explore that and we go and live there for a second. Whereas as we get older, we go through the school system, the education system, get your job, do this, get the mortgage, whatever. And it's everything's so literal.
It's
You
very structured.
right. You don't get that the room to play the
Mhm.
way that you did. And I think I've heard that many times, right? From people, I grew up too fast. I didn't really get a lot of time to be a kid.
Yeah,
And I think the thing I want to stress is like you can still go back and find that as an adult.
right.
So, what can creativity do for us? Right? I think like we have it's a part of our life, but what is the point? Or maybe we don't need to know the point. I think that's something Rick Rubin talks about. You don't need to fully understand it.
I think it's a way to connect to who we are and connect to like our soul and our heart
Yeah.
and being able to explore and again play like you just said and bring out things that just you just strictly do for joy.
Yeah.
Like it's a way of expressing yourself. And it does have a positive impact on our mind and on our mindset. It's a way that people can, get emotions out. There's just so much that you can do. I mean, there's even like different therapies, like art therapy, music therapy.
Mm.
These are all beautiful things that you're connecting to your creative part of you for.
Yeah. I think about personally like putting a song out. I'd wanted to do that since I was a kid. So now to be in a point where I know how to do it and I've done it twice, and I'm gonna do it more. But being there, living the experience, there's very little that fulfills me in the same way.
Yeah.
I think about I saw a very long podcast with Hosier, the guy who sings "Take Me to Church," and he's had other great songs too. I'm just saying, I think most people know that one.
Yeah.
But he always says, when I'm writing, because his thing is a lot of artists will just make a song, and it's very common nowadays to just make something and put it out. He's taken 3-4 years, sometimes more, between his albums. And his whole thing is he doesn't force it. When he has an idea, he asks himself, is it beautiful? And is it meaningful? Do I feel like I need to finish this?
Yeah.
Is it meaningful to share it? And I think that those are really good questions to ask yourself if you are pursuing something creative. If it feels beautiful to you and it feels like it's something you want to finish, you don't need other answers. You don't need other, parts of the puzzle. You can just do it and enjoy it.
Yeah. And it's not for external validation.
Right. Right.
It's meant for you. And if it, in terms of like music, if it's something you want to share, hopefully other people, can connect with it and
Yeah.
feel something from it the way that you have. And maybe that's what you've intended, but it doesn't have to be shared either.
No, and Rick Rubin talks about that in his book. He says the audience comes last. You
Mm,
don't make art for other people. You make art for you because it's your interpretation of the world.
yeah.
And the right people will find it.
Yeah. And like your interpretation of the world, it can be like a way to release emotions, to work through emotions. And it can come out in some form of art, music, writing,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. Um, Even just like the act of immersing yourself in something creative can be very relaxing,
Yeah.
reduce your stress, and again, allow you more of an outlet for expressing yourself.
Yeah. I think that the most recent song I put out um, was really about me. It was about like my life and where I was at the time. And, kind of the situation we're in of like, we walked away from the consulting and I'm really giving myself a shot to make music and live what I want to live. And it was probably I've made a lot of music, but that song was something I created that just like truly felt good. It felt authentic to me. And I'm actually in an investment group, and one of the people checked out my song, and he really liked the hook, the chorus. Um, and it was just cool. It was cool to like hear that and that it resonated with someone. And I believe, that that is the case because I truly created it from what I felt and what my experience is.
Yeah, and from your heart.
Yeah.
And like we said, it's connecting with your imagination and, you know, diving into your creative side allows you to bring back a little bit of that joy and playfulness of life. Life is so serious, and it's like children are not the only ones that are meant to experience, play.
Yeah. So something you put in here that I think is really important is it allows us to communicate thoughts, feelings, and experiences that may be difficult to articulate verbally. And I think that's really important because in Rick Rubin's book, he actually says language is still a finite barrier. And I've seen a lot of artists talk about this is because we write music, but when we're writing lyrics, it's still confined to language,
Mhm.
which also has its limitations, and it's already getting filtered down through our world, So if you're struggling to verbalize something or you're struggling to make sense of something, sometimes taking a more creative approach can be really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, just like you said, with music, it's the words, and that's like the limitation, but you can create a feeling and a sensation from the actual music of the song, like the
Yeah.
actual beat, the actual layout of it.
Yeah, and I think, that's something that's fascinated me too is like I never knew like do artists make the music and then write the lyrics? Do they write the lyrics and then make the music? And, when does the percussion come in? And it turns out it's a little bit of everything. And what a lot of people do is they just kind of figure it out as they go with the instruments. And then once it's there, they ask themselves, what does this sound? What do these sounds make me feel? And
Mhm.
they write based on that.
Yeah. I mean, you can typically tell when a song is like upbeat and happy versus more slow and
Yeah.
melancholy. Like it's meant to just express that in a different way.
Yeah. And it'll influence, how the artist creates the song.
Yeah.
So, we've gotten into that. I think, it helps self expression. It can help you in terms of stress. It can help you process situations. Creativity can be a really powerful tool. And I truly say this as someone who didn't have creativity in my life for many years. And I really fought very hard to have that in my life. Um, so it really gives you a chance to connect with another side of life that you probably wouldn't in your very literal world.
Right.
So, creative outlets that people can try. Do you want to share some of those?
Yeah. I think there's definitely, the traditional ones that people automatically assume art of any form, drawing, painting, any other form. There's so many ways to like do
Yeah,
art now.
your different mediums. It could
Right.
be oil painting, it could be sketching, it could be whatever it is.
Yeah. But then there's also like maybe you're making jewelry. I
Mm,
don't know,
that's a good one.
making something like with your hands. Music, as you said, of course. Just writing, whether it's journaling or writing a story or writing a poem,
Yeah.
crafting. There's so many different ways to craft.
Yeah, we were talking about this. Your dad, I don't think he really sees himself as a creative person,
Mhm.
but he's very handy. And we built a shed, a firewood shed. Your dad really like spearheaded that project, but there's a creative element to that.
Yeah, he
There's
also built a whole wooden swing for my sister.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
And that is a creative outlet. It's like it's an art in its own form.
Right. Right. And I think that maybe he doesn't see it that way because there's a very specific box. There's the measurements that he's looking at. He wants it to be, look good and be straight and all that, but that in itself is an art form.
Right. It's building, and people do all sorts of things like woodworking projects,
Mhm.
or maybe you're working with metal or other types of tools or
You seen those,
materials.
you ever seen those, like, garbage artists?
Yeah.
There's one in town, they're so
Yeah.
cool.
I mean,
Very
that's
cool.
crazy. You can literally make art out of garbage.
Yeah. I mean, it could be anything.
There's people who carve beautiful statues out of
Oh,
tree
yeah.
trunks.
Yep.
Those are like in
Those
town.
are cool.
Maybe you love cooking and you just like get in the zone and you're experiencing it. And for you, you're putting creativity into it.
That's my dad. He
Hmm.
loves to cook, loves to
Right.
cook for
And then it's like
people.
he has this like masterpiece at the end
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he presents it. Um,
Photography.
our
Mm,
podcast is a form of creativity.
yeah.
It's a way of expressing. It's educational in nature and it's meant to help, but it's also a way of expressing ourselves and
Yeah.
expressing our beliefs and things we want to help people with.
Yeah. I think, for me, it's, I really, more so in recent years, I've really enjoyed the camera work. And I actually like was into photography before we got more into video. And I think the thing with photography is like for many years, I was just like, oh, it's a picture. But because you can mess with the focus, you can really change someone's perspective.
Yeah.
You can blur out the right things or you can focus on something closer or farther. And there's so many different ways to play with it as an art form.
Yeah. I saw a like reel the other day and it was like kind of funny, but it was like millennials trying to figure out their next hobby,
Mm,
cuz like most hobbies have some sort of creative element to it a lot of
yeah.
times. And it was funny cuz it was going through like you're doing crafting with like a Cricut or baking. Oh my gosh, we just made our first sourdough
Oh,
loaf.
how
We
did we
totally
not
didn't
share
talk
that?
about that. It came out amazing. But anyways, like are you making bread? Are you crafting? Are you, drawing or doing that or are you like
Gardening.
gardening?
Yeah.
Love it. Bird watching was a funny one on the reel, but yeah, I mean, it's creating time in your schedule to dive in and go into it without expectation and just the mindset of like play and enjoyment.
Yeah. And I think to expand on that, it can really be anything that gives you the ability or enables you to try different things within a specific realm. You know, like I can always equate it to music, but like with music, I can try a faster song. I can try a slower song. I can, try longer notes when I'm singing, or I can talk faster. And there's a lot of opportunity to try things. With bird watching, you could get different lengths of lenses for your camera, and you can try taking the photos different ways. You can golf and you can try different clubs. There's so many different things. But I think the point is, you're kind of finding a whole different world that you can explore in and try different things in.
Yeah, and kind of like let your wall down and just be instead of worrying about like everything else about life that is always there.
Yeah, and I'll say too that the thing to carry into creativity or a creative endeavor is that there is no right or wrong. You know, there's things that might make more sense for specific situations, but it's not about right and wrong. It's about what feels good to you.
Yeah.
Like I have a song I was working on that it's kind of like a sounds more mellow, but the lyrics are more upbeat. And it, felt right for some time. And I decided I've learned a lot more. It doesn't feel so right anymore.
Mhm.
But giving yourself the ability to play and test that and try things is really important.
Yeah. There's just so many like options out there. There's events that you can go to if you're not someone who wants to like invest in different supplies or different
Mhm.
education or tools or
That's important
whatever it
because
is.
if you want to try something, you can almost always find a group class that's like local that'll supply the materials for you to, dip your toes in the water.
Yeah. So there's different ways and definitely different options. So find time in your schedule to get creative.
Yeah. We had that episode on goal alignment and time allocation. And it's like anything. I think I would argue that an integral component of being a healthy human is allocating some amount of time for you to play, to explore some sort of avenue, whether that's creative or just something that's very meaningful and enjoyable to you.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of like really being in alignment with your soul and your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else?
So I meant to say this earlier, but I have a new workshop coming out.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't seen me sharing about it yet, I'm putting out a free workshop. It is on April 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It is called Step into Your True Self. So it's going to be about an hour long, and I would highly encourage you come live because it is going to be more interactive, and it's really about I'm going to, do some things where I do a meditation and ground you. I'm going to ask you to do some self-discovery practices and really figure out where you are in life and if you feel like you're in alignment with yourself.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing some journaling exercises. I'm going to be helping set identity-based goals and then setting actual actions and milestones with you on that call.
Yeah.
So, if you're interested in joining, you can go to newmoonholisticlife.com/true self to sign up. It's completely free. There will be a replay available, but it's only going to be available for like a limited time afterwards. So if you can't make it and still want to see it, I still recommend signing up.
Yeah. I'm really excited for this. I know that, we've kind of split a little bit. You're focusing on holistic life coaching and I'm focusing on my music and trading, and we're both really kind of doing our own things. And it's been a while since we've done something like that. But seeing what you did with the breathwork and self-talk challenge, I think it just came out phenomenal. So I'm so stoked to see this.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, the breath work was, working through one like modality, but this
Yeah.
is really more bigger picture. Like this is going through a mini like coaching experience with me.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
Exciting. When is it again?
April 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Love it. We'll see you guys there. Friendly reminder, this podcast is sponsored by New Moon Apparel. That is our Zen, motivational, and moon themed clothing line. You can shop designs at newmoonapparel.com. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.